Ian Garry breaks down the SHAVKAT Rakhmonov fight and shares his vision of the future in the welterweight division. The two former training partners will co-headline this week's event, putting their undefeated records on the line. This is a title eliminator fight, so the Irishman can snatch that opportunity out of SHAVKAT's hands, who was already supposed to face Bilal Muhammad before the champion had to pull out of the scheduled contest due to an injury. Rakhmonov seems to be very confident about this one, even displaying a kind of a dismissive attitude when speaking about Ian's abilities. In recent interviews, he even brought up their sparring sessions, saying he was able to submit Garry many times. How the outcome of sparring sessions can or cannot predict how the actual contest will play out is a separate topic, but it is clear that the experience of them, having felt each other out in the gym, gives this bout another angle of interest. Ian Garry comments on the fight and lays out his plan for capturing the belt.
I feel like he's always been a great competitor, a great fighter. He's great in every aspect of the game, and it's my job to go out here and exploit some holes, have some fun, and go out here and put on a show.
Yeah. Everybody knows you guys work together. How much and what was it like? Did you feel like both of you were holding something back? What was your guys' individual approaches to that time together?
I mean, we've done a lot of spars together. We did a lot of training together, and it was very beneficial for both of us. I think he would agree with that. Like, we got some really good looks in, but we never went 100%. It was never go out there and kill or be killed. It was never fight pace. It was always 50%, 60% at the max. Do you know what I mean? I had success, he had success, but nothing I think either of us could really take away and take into this fight and have an overwhelming confidence of, I did this to him in training, so it's going to happen again. No, it's training. And I think if SHAVKAT or I were to sit there and go, well, I did this in training, it's like, well, do it in the fight then.
Yeah.
Do it in the fight, because that's where it matters.
Michael Bisping and Paul Felder preview the upcoming clash between Cyril Gane and Alexander Volkov. The two heavyweights are set to clash on UFC 310 in a bout that will decide the direction in which their careers are heading, in a relatively short-term sense at least. In their first fight, the French kickboxer showcased a stellar performance, dominating the tough Volkov over the entirety of the fight. There was little wrestling in that one, something that we can expect to change in the rematch. Volkov has accumulated an impressive 4-fight winning streak since his loss to the current interim heavyweight champion. As for Gane, the Frenchman finished Sergey Spivak in his last one after losing to John Jones in the championship bout. Both fighters are looking to get closer to Bones and Tom, who occupy the very top of the division at the moment. On paper, this contest promises some dynamic striking exchanges and possibly grappling exchanges initiated by Alexander. Paul Felder and Michael Bisping break down the fight.
Cyril Gane's only got 2 losses on his record. One of them is to John Jones. One of them is to Francis Ngannou. So there's no shame in either of those losses, and that's a stupid statement to make. And the Francis Ngannou fight, he had to turn Francis Ngannou essentially into a wrestler because he didn't like what was going on the feet, and it went 5 rounds, and it was a competitive fight. I expect him to repeat what he did last time against Volkov. I expect him to get the victory. But the problem is here, it's not a 5-round fight, it's a 3-round fight. So he's got to come out of there.
Started early. Yeah, he's got to get started early. With the way the heavyweight division's moving, if you want to be right up there in the talks for fighting Aspinall, Jones, whoever it's going to be, I think going out there and getting him out of there and being aggressive early and not taking your time and showing everybody that you can go and put people away quick. I think that's going to be important for him, and I think he can get it done, and I think that's where his mind will be is.
So we're not getting the much desired fight between John Jones and Tom Aspinall, but we might get one that's equally interesting or even more interesting. The story is still developing, but it looks like the Saudi sheikh who stormed the world of boxing and has been responsible for the biggest fights for the last year is looking to expand his operations to MMA, and he wants to make a grand entry. Sheikh Turki, who is a Saudi Arabian advisor at the royal court under the rank of minister and the current chairman of the General Entertainment Authority, is working on Jones versus Ngannou and hints that the talks are progressing, and Dana White is very happy. Francis currently competes in PFL, and in all previous discussions about the topic, Dana has stated that he is not interested in working with the former champion ever again, especially in the context of any type of a crossover fight. Jones was mulling over the decision whether or not to accept the Tom fight, and the community expected to get some exciting news on that front. But it seems we're getting quite a surprise here, and not many will complain about this fight happening over the one with Tom, as the difference in name value is stark, and the level of danger about the same for John. In a recent conversation with Ariel Helwani, Sheikh Turki revealed that he wants to make the Jones versus Francis fight happen and is working on it to materialize. He says he wants to send Dana White to the moon, implying that the sum of money that will be offered to the UFC in exchange for allowing Jones to fight Francis in a joint promotion will be enough to make him happy and basically secure the whole deal. This is what Sheikh said when he dropped the news out of nowhere during a podcast.
I have in the table for Francis in MMA all the times. My answer is all the time we want to do the biggest things.
Would that be John Jones?
Has to be John Jones.
Beep.
If you can get that one done, that might be your greatest move of all. If you can figure out Francis versus John Jones, PFL versus UFC, I will eternally tip my cap to you. That would be the one if you ask me.
We need to send Dana White to the moon.
Kenny Florian predicts Aljamain Sterling versus Movsar Evloev. The two featherweights are set to clash on this week's pay-per-view event. And though they share the same goal of getting closer to being considered as challengers for the division champion, the outcome of this clash can result in very different career trajectories for them. Sterling looked good in his debut fight in the division, defeating Calvin Kattar via decision. Movsar, on the other hand, has an undefeated record, is coming off a 9-fight winning streak, and looking to secure a shot at Topuria, and maybe more importantly, to remind fans of his value as an elite competitor to get the public excited about the future fight with Ilia Topuria. The lack of finishes is a serious blemish on his record, and the key reason why people aren't that enthusiastic about him. Stylistically, his clash with Sterling is promising, as both are high-level grapplers and have some decent striking skills, so it should be interesting wherever the fight goes. Kenny Florian shares thoughts on the matchup and predicts the outcome.
This is a very interesting fight between two very talented grapplers, and I'm still not quite sure just how good EVLOEV is. And I think it's going to be a grappler's delight. Now, who is the better grappler? Who is the better takedown artist? That's who's going to win this fight. And as Brian mentioned, we haven't seen Sterling really get attacked when it comes to wrestling. Like, we haven't seen him have to defend repeatedly against other guys that are going to be aggressive with their initiation into body connections for takedowns. And I think that EVLOEV is definitely going to be that guy. Now, maybe Sterling switches things up, establishes his distance, and he decides to be the predator and back EVLOEV up. I think that's going to be his best play here. He cannot be defensive here. Not to mention, it's just not a place where Aljo is going to be at his best, in my opinion. I think he can do some certain things, maybe defensively with some funk style counters and things like that. But I think Sterling is a very interesting underdog here.